Half-Life 3, Silent Hills, also known as PT, and Beyond Good and Evil 2. While these games might be very different and are in very different genres from one another, they have one thing in common. We don't know when the fuck they're coming out, and we don't know a damn thing about them. And this was true for another game up until about a week ago. In case you missed it, in a recent Xbox Direct, they finally announced the follow-up to maybe not the best entry in the series, but one of my favorite game series of all time, Ninja Gaiden 4. After 13 long years, we finally got the announcement that I've been waiting for, and I cannot tell you guys how excited I am for this fucking day. I don't think I've ever been more hyped for a game announcement in my entire life. Ninja Gaiden holds a very special place in my heart, and I cannot wait. Oh, I just can't wait for it, guys. It's gonna be pretty fucking awesome. I really hope that they gotta knock it out of the park with this one. Ninja Gaiden Sigma was one of my very first games that I got to play on the PlayStation 3, and really ushered me into the action game genre as a whole, and was one of the most important moments in my young life, or at least as important as it could have been for a 7-year-old, I guess. I honestly couldn't even believe my young eyes. It was so realistic and so enthralling to play, and honestly I can say this is probably where my interest in Japanese culture and my love for samurais and ninjas and all that shit, this is where that all started. That's right here with this game. Had me dressing up like a ninja for Halloween and everything. Had me fucking thinking I was gonna be a fucking ninja and shit whenever I grew up. Oh, how disappointed I would be. But that's for another day. You guys don't want to hear about my dreams being crushed. And with that being said, I hope you all are having a great day. If you go on to enjoy the video, make sure you drop a like and subscribe if you want to see more great content in the future. And yeah, let's do this shit, shall we? Ninja Gaiden was originally released back in 1988 for the arcades and would later be ported to the Nintendo Entertainment System in 1989, and would be followed by 2 sequels, one a year later in 1990, and then another one a year later in 1991. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. We're actually here to talk about the 2007 release of the 2005 release of the 2004 reboot of Ninja Gaiden for the PlayStation 3. And yeah, I know that was confusing. I figured I'd go ahead and confuse you guys too, because I was confused when I looked at it, and I first saw it was released in 2004, and then they released another one a year later, and then another one 2 years later. Oh, the days of multiple of the same game. Good times. One of the few benefits of actually being able to download your updates and whatnot. It just sucks that if the fucking internet doesn't work, you're kind of fucked. So there's that. But back on topic. The original reboot was released for the Xbox and later got an enhanced version called Ninja Gaiden Black, which was also released for the Xbox. This version brought enhanced graphics as well as new modes, weapons, and general enhancements to the game. And get this, they even added functionality to be compatible with the dual access controller that Sony was promoting heavily at the time that came with the PlayStation 3, which made it so that way you could actually strengthen your grip, or you can make your guard stronger if you held the guard button down and tilted the controller, which I thought was a feature in almost every game. So for years after that, I found myself doing that, thinking that it was actually helping me when it wasn't doing shit, because if you didn't use the dual access controller, it didn't even have that functionality in it. Oh, how the tides have turned. It was definitely an interesting time. Although it did feel pretty immersive to an 8-year-old me. I felt like I was actually fighting back against the enemy ninja by holding the damn controller side damn near like you're trying to turn left. But that's besides the point. I guess that's also probably why I would do that in driving games too. I thought I'd turn the wheel harder if I actually turned the controller. Let me know down in the comments if you guys did that shit too. I know there's gotta be somebody out there who did that dumbass shit. Hell, sometimes I still find myself doing that. So, hey, you never know. In Ninja Gaiden Sigma, you play as Ryu Hayabusa, one of the most badass motherfuckers in all of Japan, and a dragon ninja from the Hayabusa village. Our story begins when the Hayabusa village is attacked and destroyed by the great fiend Doku and his army of archfiends. And during this attack, they steal the Dark Dragon Blade, which was being kept safe by Ryu's clan. And a bit of a minor spoiler, but on his mission to try to retrieve this Dark Dragon Blade, he actually seemingly kills Ryu. And as a kid, I actually thought he did kill Ryu, and we were playing as a whole nother ninja afterwards. But Ryu seemingly survives, and he sets out on a mission to obviously retrieve the fucking sword, and to kill Doku for fucking trying to kill him. Got ourselves a good old revenge story here. After that insane introduction, Ryu is sent to the fictional city of Tehran, where he finds out that there's a bit more to the situation than what was first expected, and it seems that there's a bit of a conspiracy going on with the whole Holy Empire and its Holy Emperor. Well, let's just say they haven't been up to some very good things here lately. And along the journey, Ryu will come to meet several interesting characters, first of whom is the very beautiful, very busty, and very lovely Rachel, a fiend hunter who is searching for her sister. I think I'm pronouncing this right, Alma. And the cool thing was this was actually one of the cool features that was added to the later versions of Ninja Gaiden, and you were actually able to play as her, and I think around like chapter 6 or something like that. Or maybe it was chapter 5. I'm not quite sure. But on top of that, you'll also come across Gamov, a character that provides you with some very cryptic information along the way. And another important character he meets along the way is Mirai, aka Ryu's uncle and the leader of the Shadow Ninja clan. Now, all three of these characters play a very critical role, and I don't want to get into too many spoilers, because that's just not how I roll, but I will say they do play their role in the story, so these characters, they are definitely noteworthy. And as the story progresses, it's soon revealed that the Holy Emperor is trying to use this Dark Dragon Blade to basically take over the world and transform the world into the way that he sees fit. And of course, you know, Ryu, he can't fucking settle for that shit. So throughout the game, you'll be tasked with defeating stronger and stronger enemies, some of which are fiends, and some of which are even fucking military forces that have been sent out to slow you down. And as the game progresses, it does get much, much harder. Like as a kid, I wasn't able to get very far. I think on my initial run through of the game, I only made it up to chapter 6. Because I couldn't get past the fucking motorcycle guys that would drive around in a circle and just keep shooting at you, and they'd run into you and fucking... It was a whole thing. A real fucking pain in the dick. But thankfully, the game does have a relatively easy to understand control scheme, which is probably familiar to players who have played action games in the past, or at least somewhat familiar with the controls that those games typically have. Square is your attack button, X lets you jump, circle will let you throw shurikens at enemies and kind of poses like a slow you down, doesn't do much damage, but it kind of breaks up the pace of the battle, kind of like a key blast. If you're thinking about like Sparking Zero, you know, you use those to kind of like break up the pace of the battle. That's kind of what the shurikens are used for. And it also lets you use the other projectiles that you may unlock throughout the game. You know, you'll get like firecrackers and fucking some other really cool ones that I don't really want to spoil for you guys. Triangle lets you do a heavy attack that can also be combined with square to do different combos and whatnot. And these combos can also be unlocked throughout the game. You know, you'll find them laying around on the ground and whatnot. And when you start, you have like your some basic combos. You know, square, square, triangle, triangle, just some simple shit like that. And you also get a guard button, which becomes a little less effective later on into the game. It definitely has its purpose, but the main tool that you'll be using is whenever you're guarding and you press in a certain direction, you're able to roll. And this move will be essential to being successful at combat in this game. So you'll want to get it down pretty early on, because you will do a lot of dodge rolling in this game, and that's no joke. And your combos aren't, you know, nothing too crazy. They can become pretty intricate, you know, having more button prompts and whatnot, and some of them can only be activated if you're in the air or, you know, after doing a certain other combo. They can get pretty intricate, which is pretty neat if you ask me. Now, whenever I played this game, I didn't really focus up a lot on the combos. I mainly found, you know, 4 or 5 that worked for me and then kind of stuck to those. But the game definitely does let you play around with what you can do with those combos. And certain combos are more effective on different kinds of enemies. Same thing with the weapon types. Swords are a little bit more effective on like the human type enemies, while the axe is a little bit better for the fiend enemies. So there's a little bit of understanding the game to be able to succeed, which is always much appreciated in a game like this. While the game's level structure is mostly linear, the game does have several branching paths that you can find if you do a little bit of exploring, which is definitely very much appreciated in a game like this, because most of the time, you know, you just go from enemy engagement to boss fight to boss fight, and these little secrets do a good job of breaking up these boss fights and giving you a little bit of something to look for. Well, one of by far the most badass parts about this game is the traversal system. If you get close enough to a wall and you jump towards it, you'll either run across it, run up it, or do some badass shit like this. And the game uses this system very effectively by making you use it and understand it to find secrets throughout the game, and to even be able to find the materials to unlock new weapons and upgrade your current weapons. So this is a system that you definitely want to get familiar with. And why wouldn't you? I mean, this shit's pretty badass. You can't even tell me this isn't fucking cool. As you journey throughout Ninja Gaiden, you'll come across these items called scarabs, which are these little claw-looking things that are found around the map, and they serve as this game's version of collectibles or whatever. However, they actually do play a pretty important role, as the more that you unlock, you'll unlock new weapons, and once you unlock all of them, you even unlock a secret weapon, which is pretty badass if you ask me. But not only that, you'll also come across health potions, which in this game are one of the most important and crucial items you could ever have in your inventory, because health management is the name of the game here as well. Health isn't just given out like fucking candy. You don't, just regain all your health whenever you get to a checkpoint. The only time you'll really get health is by finding health potions, or whenever you discover a new checkpoint for the first time, and only for the first time. You can't just run back to it and keep regaining your health. That's not how this is going to work. Essentially, you have to find health potions lying around, so you have to do a little bit of scavenging. The only other way that you'll be getting health is by defeating enemies, and when you do this, they sort of dissolve into this like blood fucking ritual thing, and then they transform into a little orb. Now these little orbs are very, very important, because there will be either one of three kinds. They're either going to be yellow, they're going to be blue, or they're going to be red. Yellow is currency, blue is health, and red actually fills your ninpo gauge, which is that gauge that we were talking about that lets you do the cool abilities and whatnot. However, more often than not, they're going to transform into a yellow orb, which is currency, which is useful, but you really want them to transform into a blue orb if you're about to die, and they don't always do that. So, like I said, health management, manage that shit, keep it intact, you'll be Gucci. You don't want to go into a boss fight with fucking one health potion and think you're going to be able to come out alive. Unless you're a pro, that shit ain't happening. So remember that. Health potions are the name of the game. Keep that health up. Now, while I'd say you just have to take down enemies, this task is not as easy as it may seem at first, because finding the best way to defeat your enemies is really what counts here. It will be all the difference between getting overwhelmed and jumped by 5 or 6 ninja at once and coming out on top. Not only will you need to find the best way to take down enemies, meaning like the best combos, but you'll also need to find the best weapons for taking down enemies. And throughout your journey, you'll come across several different kinds of weapons, from swords to staffs to even fucking Wolverine claws. There's a pretty big variety of weapons to choose from here. You'll even get several different kinds of ranged weapons, including bows, firecrackers, exploding shuriken, and among many others. But each of these weapons are pretty badass, I'm not gonna lie, and each one of them has their own strengths and weaknesses. For example, the bow staff is a great weapon for dealing with fiends, while the dragon sword is a better weapon for taking down enemy ninja that you'll encounter. And it's incredible, I'm not gonna lie. Very few games have been able to recreate the feeling that this game, to this day, continues to give me, the rush that it gives me when I play it. Very few games have been able to replicate that. I feel like this excitement and need for perfection is something that's missing from a lot of games today. I mean, straight out the gate, the game pulls no fucking punches and gets straight to kicking your ass as soon as you boot up the game. Right from the very start, as soon as you boot into the first level, you're ambushed by a bunch of fucking ninjas. And they don't stand there and wait for you to attack either. They're on your ass, and you'll be fucking dead before you can even mutter the words ninpo, and I fucking love it. I just absolutely adore how unapologetic this game is, and I feel like nowadays, a lot of games feel artificially difficult, if they even pose much of a challenge at all. I feel like a lot of games will just increase the enemy's health bar, or make you do less damage and make them more bullet spongy, rather than actually making the game difficult and making you have to use every tool that's at your disposal, which this game executes pretty well in my opinion. Ninja Gaiden rewards precise, meaningful gameplay, and it requires you to understand the game's mechanics to be able to master it and be able to succeed. And with 16 chapters, the game definitely gives you enough time to understand its mechanics and has plenty to offer you. And of course, it starts out a little simpler and a little bit easier, so you can kind of ease your way into the difficulty, but it's still pretty difficult. The first boss, as a matter of fact, had me stuck for a fucking week the first time I bought it. Now granted, I was a young kid, but even my dad couldn't beat it. And for every day for a week straight, I'd come home from school, probably not do the homework that I was supposed to be doing, and I'd sit my ass on the couch and try to beat it. And it was so badass. It didn't even feel, it was before I even knew how to get mad at being stuck at a video game. I just thought that was a part of it. And all the little details that went into the combat just threw my brain for a whole fucking roller coaster. It was fucking awesome. And I really liked the details, like whenever you'd be attacking and the other guy would attack at the same time, you go into the little sword clash thing. That would always get my heart pumping. That would have me excited every fucking time. That had me jumping up and down, and very few games were really able to do that after that game. The game really set the standards pretty high for me going forward, actually. As a matter of fact, there were very few games I can say that really I thought were anywhere near as good as that game. The only ones that really came close actually were the Batman Arkham games, which I think came out the first one, Arkham Asylum, came out around the same time as Ninja Gaiden did. And that game was fucking awesome too. I gotta do a video on that game as well. Comment down below. If you also, you know what? Comment down below if you made it this far. I want you to comment Batman, and I might try to do a video on Arkham Asylum. Actually, I probably will, because that was a pretty good game as well. Back on topic, Team Ninja really outdid themselves with this one. Everything from the sound design to even the fucking graphics are so on point. Guys, it's not even funny. This game was so fucking realistic to me whenever I was a kid. It looked amazing. It was so beautiful. It still is. It's a beautiful game. Very stylized, very artistic. And I think that's why it's also been able to hold up so well to this day. It's got plenty of detail, even from the leaves on the trees to even the armor that Ryu is wearing are expertly crafted and displayed here. Some of the things and the amount of detail that went into creating the stuff in this game is fucking amazing. The details on the swords, the details, hell, to even the environments and the enemies themselves. They did a phenomenal job here. And the sound design, chef's kiss on that one, guys. That I love the sound design in this game. It fucking is amazing. All the little sounds, all the little details, and it's got by far one of my favorite scenes in probably all of gaming. Check the shit out.
My network of ninja have uncovered the reason for the attack. The samurai who burned the village was Doku, lord of the greater fiends of the Vigor Empire. It appears as though the Vigor Emperor seeks the power of the Dark Dragon Blade. Doku.
Damn, that shit's fucking dope. You can't fucking not watch that and not fucking be ready to kill some shit. We gotta fucking, oh man, this game is fucking dope. Hell, even the battle sounds in the game are phenomenal. When you're slicing enemies' heads off and watching them roll, you really feel that sword cut through that flesh. But watching their heads roll off and their bodies fall to the ground, you really feel like a badass. And that's the fucking point. This amount of detail was so crucial to the game, feeling the way that it did, and feeling as immersive as it did. The only shitty part is I'm sad that more people didn't get to enjoy it. I'm sad that more people didn't get to experience how phenomenal this game is. And if you're watching this video and you haven't played it yet, what the fuck are you doing? Go play that shit. And if you've played it and you died a couple times and now you're sitting here wondering why it's actually a good game, try that shit again. Try a different weapon. Try some different combos. This game deserves to be played. I feel like if anything hadn't been included in this game that they had included, it wouldn't feel as immersive as it does. If it didn't take itself as seriously as it did, then it wouldn't have felt as badass as it does. You really do feel like a cool motherfucker running around. And it feels like you're the one trying to reclaim the sword for your village. This game makes you feel like Ryu Hayabusa, and I'm all here for it. I could go on for hours, but we probably need to move on. Let's take a look at the bosses. Now, one thing I haven't really touched on as much are, of course, one of the biggest fucking components of games like this, the boss fights. Before you had Dark Souls and its fucking screen-long boss health bars, Ninja Gaiden actually had screen-long boss health bars. And these bosses are fucking difficult as fuck, I'm not gonna lie. As you progress through each chapter, you will eventually come up to a mid-chapter boss, which will vary in difficulty based on whatever chapter you're in. But then at the end of the chapter, you'll run into an end of chapter boss, which is 9 times out of 10 gonna kick your ass unless you know what the boss is beforehand. These bosses are no joke. You're gonna have to learn some patterns, and you're definitely gonna have to know the movement system very well if you think you're gonna survive any of these encounters. In order to defeat any of these bosses, you'll have to know the boss's patterns, you'll have to know when to dodge, and you're gonna have to know when to counterattack. And it will take some time to develop a good, solid strategy to be able to defeat these bosses. But like with most games, you keep trying, you'll eventually understand what the boss does, understand its limitations, and understand when you can attack. Almost similar to From Software's Dark Souls, some you might say. So you could almost say that Team Ninja might have been an early innovator to this kind of boss style. Probably get a lot of shit for that in the comments, but I don't give a fuck. This game will forever stand as one of my top 3 games, and that's only because I can't 100% definitively decide between the other two. The game was just so fucking awesome, and it still is to this very day. And honestly, I ended up judging every action game and almost every game after this based on this game. And this was really what set the bar for me in terms of a good quality action adventure game. But as I was saying, most of the bosses found throughout this game are pretty unique, and they have, their own unique movesets and their own unique playstyles, except for a few repeat bosses that you'll find along the way. But usually those are only reused for like middle of the chapter bosses, or maybe like a first phase boss kind of thing. They usually don't repeat very many bosses. And each boss generally has its own theme that goes along with whatever chapter that the boss is placed in. For example, in the second chapter of the game, once the Archfiends start attacking, you actually fight a flaming headless horseman, which is pretty fucking badass, by the way, on a flaming bridge, while the city is fucking burning in the background and whatnot. This kind of theme persists throughout the game. At the end of this chapter, you'll fight a demon who's also on fire, and you're surrounded by burning buildings and shit. So each boss kind of has like its own chapter theme to go along with it. Some bosses are larger, while other ones will be a bit smaller, but every boss will have its own moveset and will require a good amount of skill and good execution to be able to defeat. And another thing that's similar to Dark Souls is that some bosses will have different phases that they'll go through. So when you get them down to half health, they may transform into a different boss entirely, or you might have to fight more than one boss in a single boss encounter, which provides some unique challenges, and overall is a pretty neat touch to some boss encounters that can feel, a little samey sometimes. And while Ninja Gaiden is mostly a combat-heavy game, there are some puzzles that you'll need to solve throughout your time spent. Now, these puzzles aren't overly difficult. Most of the time, you'll just have to venture from one place to another to get a key to unlock a door that, might be off the main path that you wouldn't necessarily see the first time around. But if you're not paying attention, they will definitely trip you up. Sometimes you'll have to find, like I said, a key. Sometimes you'll have to go find a crank so you can lower a bridge. Sometimes you'll have to find an item to unlock something else. So it's nothing too crazy, but it does sometimes lead to backtracking. So it's just something to keep in mind. Overall, I'm a really big fan of all the little details that they included in this game, and they continue to include in games going forward. I'm really hopeful that with the next iteration in the series, Ninja Gaiden 4, they continue this trend and keep adding and putting as many details into the game and putting as much love into the game as the series deserves. This is such an easy win for them. If they fuck this shit up, I'm gonna have to shit on somebody's desk. And it's just that simple. Please, Team Ninja, don't fuck this game up. We have waited long enough for you not to fuck this game up. So please, just make it a good game. This is my Half-Life 3. This is my Silk Song. And damn it, after waiting this long, I'm really hopeful that they deliver on this one, guys. I've wanted this one for a long time, and I really hope that it can. It doesn't even have to be the greatest game of all time. It just has to be a great Ninja Gaiden game, and that's all I'm asking for. But I guess only really time will tell whether this one's going to be a success or not, and whether they actually deliver on 13 years of hopefulness and waiting for what should be really, honestly, a slam dunk no matter what. But I'll be there day one for Ninja Gaiden 4, and I'm honestly thinking about maybe even making my streaming debut whenever that one comes out. So if you guys would like to see that, also let me know down in the comments what you think about that. And there you have it, guys. There's my opinions on one of my favorite games of all time, Ninja Gaiden Sigma. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a thumbs up, as it helps us do better in the YouTube algorithm. If you didn't like it, leave a dislike, and let me know down in the comments what your opinions are. Are you a fan of Ninja Gaiden? Have you played Ninja Gaiden? Did you get to play the old ones, or did you play the new trilogy? Let's get a discussion going about this one. I'd like to see what how other people feel about this game. And as always, subscribe for more great content such as this one. I've got more on the way. I'm hoping to kind of pick up the pace this year. I don't want to make empty promises. I'm going to do better, but I don't want to promise things and then not deliver on it. So look forward to some great videos. They will be coming. And with that being said, guys, thank you all for watching. I hope you all keep it real, keep it chill, stay safe, stay lifted, and have a dope one, guys. Peace.